Yo, what's up, guys, and welcome back to Tryhard Nation. As always, I'm your host, the omegatryhard, and today we have another champion guide. This time on Cosmic Ghost Rider. So let's just jump into it. So before we get into the video, again, I just want to give you a quick little update on everything going on. If you haven't seen or if you haven't heard, I have a giveaway going on. I will post the link to that video in the description. You don't have to be a subscriber, you don't have to like the video, share the video, nothing like that. The only thing that I ask is to leave a comment about your favorite memory about the channel, or just something channel related in the comments below. And on May 1st at 8 p.m. I think I said, I will pick like a random comment. I'll record that using like a random number generator, just so you guys know it's completely random. And yeah, we'll go from there. But if you want to read the exact rules and see the video and the full context of it, I'll leave the video in the description below so that you can view that. Again, thank you guys for all of the support, and let's go ahead and jump into Cosmic Ghost Rider. So this guy, he's a pretty new champion, especially to me. I quit the game on my previous account about the time that this guy hit the game, so I never really saw that much gameplay on him. When I pulled him, I didn't really know how to play him. I just looked up like a couple different rotations that I saw and tried practicing on Winter Soldier a bunch. And I gotta say, this guy has climbed up the ranks on my favorite characters to play, because just like Ghost Rider, his kit does a lot of different things and it's very customizable to what you need in the moment. But for the most part, it really just centers around really high damage, and there's a bunch of different rotations that you can prioritize to focus on different things. So right out of the gate, is he suicide friendly? I would say that he is, because primarily you're going to be using special 2s and special 3s, and the special 2s will usually finish them off in most quests. If not, the second one will. So at most you're losing like 5% from the recoil damage, and he's bleed immune, so you're not taking the bleed damage, which is the second biggest source of I don't know, source of lack of value. I don't know how I'd say that. One of the second main reason that he's bad with suicide. I don't know why I struggled with that so much. Okay. On top of that, he also has pretty good prestige. I want to say he is top 10. I'm not 100% sure where he lands, but he has pretty good prestige. He doesn't need the awakening, but he does gain a decent amount from it, because it makes it so that when his 5 judgment upgrade, or his 5 judgment passive, turns into a damnation debuff, which power locks, heal blocks, and fate seals them, so they don't gain power, they can't heal, and they lose all of their buffs, which is pretty useful in a lot of different scenarios. However, it's not 100% necessary, but it also benefits where you don't need to be high sig. If you just awaken him at sig 1, you get all of the utility of that. You just lose out on some damage. But as you can see here, 1,000 damage over 6 seconds is nothing compared to the rest of his kit. So it's really not that impactful to have it super maxed out. Synergies, he has decent synergies, but none of them are very crucial to like his kit. So his one with Ghost Rider just makes it so that his first judgment buff automatically gains that increased duration. So it's good, it's useful, but it's not the biggest thing in the world. It just makes it so you start off with at least all of them having an increased duration. This one, not really useful. I would say the only reason that this one would be useful is if you will need to be dexterity, because that precision counts as one of your judgment buffs, which is really my biggest downside with the character. But we'll get into that later. Let's see, this one increased armor break debuff duration by 35%. This one is probably his strongest one because it increases the duration of his armor breaks, and if you've played him at all, that's where a lot of his big damage comes from, which again we'll explain that later on. This one on heavy charge, gain a 100% chance to trigger an unstoppable buff lasting 0.5 seconds, then going on cooldown for 20 seconds. This is, it's a very niche one. You can use this to, I don't know, maybe get around like can't stop won't stop, but since it only lasts 0.5 seconds, I don't know how useful that'll be, but I don't know. I'm sure it has some use, but I don't find it that valuable. I'll just say it's a very niche synergy to have. This one, the first time your opponent reaches max power each fight, drain 5% of their power and trigger a power lock debuff lasting 2 seconds. Again, this is, I mean, it's good. It's nothing like particularly strong, because ideally you're probably going to be trying to end the fight before they get to the 3rd bar of power, or you're going to be baiting specials and stuff like that anyways. I guess you could use this to just push them to a special 3 without having to bait out specials and risk either getting hit or triggering dexterity to mess up your rotation, or possibly mess up your rotation. But I don't think it's that important. I probably wouldn't make the spot on the team for Punisher 2099 because I don't think he's that strong of a character. But if you do like him and if you do play with him, then yeah, definitely I would throw him on there because it is fairly powerful. But again, I think the big one is this Night Thrasher one, especially because on Night Thrasher's end, that's a pretty good synergy as well. And Night Thrasher is actually a really strong character when you understand how to use him. Alright, so far, good with suicides. Not the best, but not the worst. He's still pretty good with it. He does benefit from the awakening, but it's not 100% necessary, and he benefits from it just being Sig 1. He doesn't need to be max Sig. Synergies, good, not necessary. So before we jump into his overall kit, anybody who pulls him should consider himself very lucky because he's a very strong character right out of the box. He doesn't need that much investment or that much support to be good. He's just a really strong character all across the board. So now what everybody is here for, his actual kit. It seems very complicated when you don't understand like how the judgments and stuff like that work, but as you play with him, as you get used to him, and you really understand what triggers what and what rotations work, he becomes a very strong character and a very fun character. And again, not that complicated to play. We already went through his signature ability, so I'm going to skip that. And again, I'm not going to read off word for word what his abilities do. I might on a couple instances just to make it 100% clear, but if you want to just read out the abilities on your own, you can either pause the video here, read it word for word, or head over to Aunt May. But yeah, so he's bleed immune, he's incinerate immune, and when he's fighting a hashtag villain, they gain an indefinite armor break. So you can use him as a really strong counter to Killmonger. It's probably one of my favorite things about him because I hate Killmonger, and with him, as long as they don't have, I think it's called Mighty Charge, the one where it like shrugs off debuffs or whatever, he's basically shut down his reverberation the entire fight because it's 100% chance to inflict it and it's indefinite, so it lasts for the entire fight. Super strong. Now this is what his whole kit focuses around right here, the Cosmic Judgments. Basically, alright, if you saw an awkward cut there, it's because the first 3 times that I tried doing this video, making this part, explaining the judgments, I didn't do that great of a job at it, right? I just kept kind of going in circles and repeating everything that I said. So I'm going to try and make this a little bit more simpler, right? Okay, so every time you gain a buff, you put a judgment on the opponent. Every time that you put a judgment, the next buff that you trigger would have an increased duration up to 5, because you can only have 5 judgments on the opponent at a single time. So that means you can gain 5 buffs this way, and you can only gain each buff 1 time. So you can't keep getting power gains, you can't keep getting cruelties or precisions or furies. You have to pick which ones you want to have an increased duration and do them later in the rotation. The one that you want the most, you want to put after you get 5. The reason you want to get it after you get 5 is because once you have the 5 judgments placed, it locks at 5 for 6 seconds, and any buff you have after that, their duration bonus is doubled. So again, every time you get a judgment, the next one increases 20% duration, stacking. So what that means is the first one would be 0%. It would just be its normal duration. The next buff would have a 20%. The next buff would have a 40%, 60%, and 80% duration increase. That means the 6th buff would have it doubled, which would mean it would have a 160% increase in duration. So if you want your Fury to last the whole round or whatever, you would trigger your Fury after you get to 5 judgments, because that next one would again have that 160% duration, so it would last way longer. So the buffs that you want to be more important are going to be, again, later in the rotation, and the ones that are least important to you, you'll throw at the beginning. So the possible buffs and judgments that you can get from his abilities are Armor Up, Fury, Precision, Cruelty, Power Gain, Unblockable, Vigilance, and Aptitude. That means you have a total of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 different buffs that you can get and play around with. It's important to note that these don't just trigger off of his kit. So if you're doing a node like Chaos where you gain random buffs, if you gain an Armor Up buff, it will count as a judgment. So it can really screw up your rotation, especially Precision, because as we all know, when you're running Dexterity, you gain a Precision buff, and this makes it so your Dexterity will trigger the Precision, which will trigger the Judgment, which means when you launch your special attack, you won't get that Precision with the increased duration or anything like that, because it would have already been used on your Dexterity. So that's probably the biggest downside of Cosmic Ghost Rider. He can feel like you have to take a lot of chip damage from holding block, because you can't really use your Dexterity if you're trying to do a specific rotation where you're like launching special 2s as your main damage source. I don't personally really care about that, but it is a complaint that I see fairly often. Let's see here. So we already went over that you can't stack them. It's just you can only get them a single time per rotation. We already went over the judgments. Actually, I'm probably going to delete that part of the video and just do this one here. So let me just re-go over this. So again, when you get to 5 judgments, you lock for 6 seconds, and then after 6 seconds, you reset so you can start re-triggering those buffs and re-triggering those judgments, and all of the judgments that you had from the previous one, after that 6 seconds expires, they will be converted into armor breaks. So this is where a lot of his big dick damage comes from, because all those armor ups or all those armor breaks increase your damage, but you also keep all of the buffs that you had previously. So it's just a bunch of compounding things to make him just that much stronger, right? If Cosmic Ghost Rider gains a Fate Seal buff, he removes all of his judgments and he cannot trigger new ones until it ends. So basically, Fate Seals are hard counters to Cosmic Ghost Rider if you're ever fighting him, or you're playing as him and you're going against a specific node that plays that, or a champion that places that. Alright, so here's when we start going over what triggers what. When you're attacked, you gain the armor up for 10 seconds, and I think 10 seconds is, actually no, never mind. I was going to say I think 10 seconds is the base duration for everything he has, but it's not. So when you get attacked, you gain the armor up. It's not the worst thing in the world to get tagged, because again, you gain that for 10 seconds, which means you gain the judgment, which should make anything after that last a little bit longer, but it will cost you some health, but not as much because it has an armor up. So if you get hit and you think, oh man, there goes my rotation, it's not that bad. As long as you live, you're good. Just jump right back into it. If you finish the hit with your 5-hit combo with a medium attack, you gain a vigilance buff, which means your opponent can't miss. So if you're going against characters like Invisible Woman, you can use this to counter her if you use this at the end of the judgment cycle. So if you use this as your 5th judgment, 6th judgment, you can make this vigilance last very long, so you basically never have to worry about the missing. If you hit a 5-hit combo ending with a light attack, you gain a power gain, which is 75% of a bar over 1.25 seconds. And again, this duration is increased per judgment that you already have on. So if you trigger this later in the rotation, this goes from 75% of a bar of power, just increasing. I think you can get it up to like a max of 2.75 bars or something like that, which is pretty nutty, but you have to do that basically as the like 6th or 7th buff, which I will show you that rotation later on. That's like the special 3 cycling rotation. But yeah, charging heavy, you gain a aptitude, which increases his fury, cruelty, precision, and armor up potency, which means they're basically just stronger. So this is another really big part of his kit, which is heavy canceling. So you charge heavy and then cancel it with a special attack so that you gain the actually, let me go over that in a second. So when you launch special attacks, if Judgment of Cruelty is not active, so basically you haven't already done a cruelty, you gain a cruelty buff increasing critical damage by 737. So when you hold heavy, right, you hold heavy, gain the aptitude, launch a special attack in the middle of it, so you gain that cruelty. Immediately that cruelty is bumped up by 50% in the potency because of the aptitude, because you heavied it before you launch that special attack. Couple that with special 2, where you get the precision buff, increasing your critical rating by 8400, which is a massive critical rating, which means probably something like it's 80% crit rate or something like that, 70%. It's something really high. You couple that with the aptitude as well, that's gonna get increased by another 50%. So again, it's just, if you can get that heavy cancel into the special 2, you're gonna automatically gain 3 buffs, so you're gonna gain 3 judgments, and you're going to do massive damage. Let's go back to special 1. Your special 1 activates an unblockable, which again you can make longer the later that you put it in the rotation. However, special 3, when you use this, you gain a fury, increasing your attack by something close to 80% for 15 seconds, and again you can increase that the further you put it in the rotation. So it's a lot of, it seems like there's so much there, right? It seems like there's so many different complicated things you have to worry about, and this and that, but it's really not that bad. So what a basic rotation looks like, I'll show you that right now. Alright, so here we're going to start off with the Fury rotation. So we're going to immediately go in parry and medium, light, 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 medium to get the vigilance, parry again, and then just try and keep getting off that medium, light, 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 medium into the special 1. And again, you want to get the dexterity off so that you can get as many of the judgments as you can off. So as you can see, I'm sitting at 4 currently, which means I can't get hit. Otherwise, I'll gain the armor up buff and I will get up to 5 judgments, and that will restart the cycle, which would screw everything up. I can't get the power gain for the same reason, and I can't launch a special 2 for the same reason. So right here, my current goal is to basically just get to a special 3, and then as soon as I get to the special 3, right here I paused it so that you can see I got the aptitude because I'm heavy canceling. So right there, I held the heavy, immediately jumped into the special 3. So what that's going to do is the aptitude put me at 5 judgments, so it starts that mega duration, which is going to apply to my fury. So right after this, I'm going to have a really long fury. I'm going to immediately go in and get the power gain, and then I'm just going to wait. As soon as it resets, then I'm going to hold the heavy again into the special 2, and you see there the damage is massive. The reason that it's massive is because I got that really big aptitude on the fury, precision, and cruelty. And right there, the match is done. All right, now in this one, what we're going to do is we're going to show you the short fight level 2 spamming. So I'm just going to go into a medium, light, 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 medium, immediately parry and get the medium, light, light, light power gain. Then I'm going to parry again, try and get to the special 2. I'm just going to eat this, get more block damage. Then I'm going to parry, hold heavy again into the special 2. And then I get the 5 judgment reset, and I can just keep rinsing and repeating that. The big damage output here is going to be my basic attacks after the level 2. As you can see there, I was doing like 10k plus per hit, which is why this is better for shorter fights. So fights in Act 5 or Act 6 where the health pools aren't like 500k plus. In most scenarios, they'd already be like 80-ish or so % health, or down, wait, what? They would be down 80-ish % health. That's what I meant to say. So the fight would basically be over at this point, and it's super quick. So at this point, if they're not dead, you can just keep rinsing and repeating it. So as you can see here, it's a really simple rotation. Just keep getting that initial vigilance, that power gain immediately after into the medium or the heavy canceling special 2. The issue with this playstyle is you can't get the dex off, because if you do, then you get that initial dexterity and everything is screwed up. Alright, hopefully that gameplay that was just raw gameplay was able to help visualize everything. And yeah, I'm just going to do a really brief overview of those 2 main rotations, their benefits and stuff like that, and then end out the video. So the first rotation was the Fury rotation, and again, the benefits of that are those are really long fights with higher health pools that benefit off of that massive Fury. In shorter fights, you're going to use the secondary rotation where you spam the level 2s, which again is really beneficial because a lot of the burst damage comes from the armor breaks and stuff after the special 2, because you have the precision and the cruelty and the aptitude all going. So it doesn't really make sense to build up to that fury because the health pools are going to be smaller. However, each of them kind of has their downsides. The downside for the fury rotation is you have to sit at 4 judgments until you get to your special 3. So if they have nodes like, I don't know, Plagued Mine or something like that that power drains you, it's going to be an issue there. As well as if you get hit or something like that and you get that armor up, it's just going to completely screw the rotation and then you're screwed. For the secondary rotation, the level 2 focused one, you can't dexterity. So if they have unblockable nodes or something like that, or they hit really hard into your block, it's going to be a bad time because you're going to have to get that precision to dexterity or you're going to die. And if you get that precision, it's going to massively, massively, massively drop off your damage in the short term. But again, just pick and choose depending on your playstyle, on the content that you're trying to clear. And yeah, again, those aren't the only 2 playstyles. You can also go ahead and do, I don't know, if you need the vigilance, you can throw that at the very end of your combo. Just take it out of the front, replace that with a different buff, and then throw it at judgment 4 or 5 to get that longer duration. Or if you need, I don't know, unblockable, throw that special 1 way later into the combo when you're at 4 or 5 judgments. Again, just mix and match depending on your playstyle. But for the most part, those 2 playstyles that I just showed you are the main rotations. That's going to be it for this video. Hopefully I helped you guys. Hopefully it makes Cosmic Ghost Rider seem a lot easier now. He does have a lot of things in his kit, and he does seem very overwhelming at first, but after a couple Winter Soldiers and after a couple Act 6 fights and stuff like that, when you actually play with the rotations, you realize, hey, this actually isn't that hard. And for the most part, you're always going to stick to one of the 2 depending on your playstyle. But that's going to be it for this video. As always, I appreciate you guys for thumbs up, thumbs down, comments, likes, subscribing, all that kind of stuff. I really, really appreciate it. Thank you guys for all of the support. But in the meantime, that's going to be it. Be safe. I love you, and I'll see you in the next video. Peace.